Welcome back. Now we'll look at paper 21 from October-November 2023. And as always, I mean, this is an old paper, so yeah, of course the mark scheme has been released already. Therefore, I would recommend, well, as well as watching this video, also check the mark scheme. And of course, if the video is too slow, then you can watch at 1.25 or 1.5 times the speed. Right, it tells us we should refer to the insert for the list of pseudocode functions and operators. So yeah, hopefully people have this, right? Basically the pseudocode, function list. Right, the following pseudocode represents part of the algorithm for a program. Right, so case of this value, just a case statement. We're saying, well, if it's less than 30, then we assign level the value low, right, check to 1. Right, of course, well, then we've got less than 20, again, just 2 more assignments. And I guess here we're just doing a division as well. Right, then we've got a range 30 to 40, basically the same. We've also got an assignment, or I suppose actually, well, kind of incrementing an array. And then what, just greater than 40 at the end. Right, then we want to complete the trace table by writing the answer for each row. Okay, the value assigned to level when this value is 40. And I think, the way they want us to do it is, of course, just start from top to bottom. Trying to evaluate these conditions one by one. Right, so when this value is 40, well, right, 40 less than 30, right, that's false. Right, 40 less than 20, okay, false. But then here, well, 30 to 40, okay, this one will be true. So right then, well, that's just going to be medium. If we're looking at what we're assigning to level. The next one, right, so check when the value is 36. So right, 36 less than 30, false. Right, 36 less than 20, right, false. So again, right, it's also going to be this one. And here then we're saying, well, what, 36 divided by 3, and that's just going to be 12. Right, the value assigned to level when this value is 18. So if we see here, well, 18 is less than 30, right, therefore this one is going to be immediately true. And right, that's going to be level, so yeah, let's just say low. Right, the number of elements in array data that may be incremented. So if we see, well, the only increment is obviously this one. And I think what this is asking is asking, well, how many, because if we see, well, it's going to be this value. So for example, of course, well, if this value is 30, right, then basically it's going to say what increment, element 30 basically. So of course, well, these are the only values that can possibly get incremented. And if we think about this, because of course you may look at it and just immediately think, right, that's 10 values, but actually it's going to be 11. Because, well, just count them, right, say, well, 30, 31, 32, right, up until 40, that's going to be 11, right, whereas, of course, 30 to 39, right, that would be 10. Okay, then it says, so actually, let's just talk about this, this kind of syntax for the case conditions. Because, in reality, let's say in the syllabus, right, they don't use this syntax. And I also don't know any real programming language that would accept a condition like this for a case. Because, basically the way case statements work, right, sometimes they're also called switch statements, right, match statements. What they do is, well, they're going to use a hash table. So basically you're going to have an input, let's just say, let's say 25. And, 25, right, that will go to, well, let's say like a specific address in memory. Right, then of course you might have another condition, let's say 28, right, and, that's going to go, let's say, to another address in memory. So basically it's just going to be, right, a single input value, which is going to go to, well, let's say like a single address in memory. You're not going to be able to have these kind of conditions here. And well, obviously the reason for that is because if we look, well, less than 30, right, there's actually an infinite number of values that are, well, of course, less than 30. Likewise, of course, there's an infinite number of values that are greater than 40. Therefore, if we're using a hash table like this, well, we would, of course, therefore need like an infinite number of rows in the hash table, which, of course, is just, well, not realistic, right, impossible. Anyway, well, so yeah, it says the pseudocode contains 4 assignments to variable level. One of these assignments will never be performed. Identify this assignment and explain why this is the case. Right, so if we look at here, well, actually, when we saw 18, of course, well, 18 is less than 30, right? So this one kind of, passes, right? This is true. But then we see, right, this one is never going to execute. This condition is never going to be true. Because, of course, well, if let's say if 18 is greater than 30, well, obviously it's going to do this condition, then it's just going to exit or break. So I think, right, and then we want to say, well, one of the assignments to level. So I suppose what it's going to be very low. Very low will never be assigned to level. So, well, let's just say that, right, very low. right, will never be assigned to level. And then I guess the reason, right, and let's say, well, since, okay, right, let's say, well, since any value that is less than 20, yeah, well, let's say, right, any value of this value, or, well, I know we could say, yeah, like any time, let's say any time this value, right, is less than 20. Well, we can say it will also match the first condition, right, less than 30. Yeah, let's say it will also match, let's say match the previous condition. And yeah, let's put in brackets, well, that's going to be less than 30. Right, and what we can say, yeah, hence this code will execute, and what we will kind of return from the case statement, or yeah, we will break from the case statement. Yeah, let's say maybe this code will execute instead. Right, okay, yeah, execute instead. Yeah, let's say, right, and I guess break from the case statement. Yeah, I mean, so hopefully that makes sense, and also hopefully that's enough for 3 marks. Like maybe in the exam, well, to be honest, in the exam, I'll probably just waffle on a bit more, yeah, just to fill up the space. Probably saying, I mean, I don't know, like maybe just kind of like repeating what I've said here, really. But yeah, just sort of wording it in a slightly different way. Yeah, I mean, I think generally in exams you don't really want to use white space. Like, I mean, yeah, if you have time, try and fill up the whole space that that they give you. Right, then the next one, the following line is added immediately before the end case statement. Right, otherwise, yeah, level is undefined, or well, assigned the value undefined. Right, state why this assignment is never performed. So I think what we can look at is, well, I mean, let's think of different values. If we have a value that's less than 30, well, of course, right, that's just going to do this one, and it's just going to stop. Yeah, let's use a different color. Let's say if we have a value, well, I don't know, like 35. But of course, 35 is going to be this one. Now, and of course, that's going to go up to 40. Right, then if we have a value that's, well, greater than 40, right, of course, it's going to be this one. So, I mean, basically, well, there's never going to be an integer value that is, not going to match any of these. Right, because obviously, well, if it's less than 30, it's this one. Right, between 30 and 40, this one. And yeah, obviously, well, greater than 40 is going to be this one. So let's just say that, right, no, I don't know what, every numeric input, every numeric input, will match, let's say will match, the other conditions, or let's say, one of the other conditions, one of the, right, other conditions. And yeah, I know, like maybe let's give an example, right? So we say, well, either is less than 30. Right, let's say, well, or what, between 30 to 40. Well, or, and then greater than 40. Right, then we want to give the appropriate data types for the variables this value, check, and level. So I think, well, level, we saw that's going to be a string, because for example, that was what, too low, or very low, right, undefined. Right, then this value, so let's go ahead and look. I mean, here, well, it seems that this value is just going to be an integer. Now, if we then look at check, well, check, we have a division. So really, any time we're doing a division, we probably want to make that a real. So right, this is going to be integer. Okay, integer. Right, and this one will be real. Okay, right, then it says an algorithm is expressed as follows: input 100 numbers one at a time, keep a total of all numbers input that have a value between 30 and 70 inclusive, and output this total after the last number has been input. Right, outline using stepwise refinement the 5 steps for the algorithm. Right, that which could be used to produce pseudocode, and don't use pseudocode statements in your answer. Right, so I mean, I don't know, like for me, I find these questions a bit tricky. You know, if it says just write it, yeah, to me that's not too bad. But you know, the problem with this is, well, like, I mean, I don't know, like let's say your solution, right, only uses 4 steps, and you're thinking, well, how do they want you to break it down into 5 steps? Or yeah, likewise, I don't know, maybe your solution uses 6 steps. I mean, I think if you have more steps, it's not too bad because of course you can just combine one of them. But yeah, I mean, when you don't have enough. So like what I might do, I might just write a quick plan. So I guess the first one, maybe let's just say declare. Maybe declare and maybe like initialize, or yeah, like init. Right, now I suppose what we want to declare then, that wants to be, I guess, well, one, let's call it total. And I suppose we can have another one, like what, just a count. Yeah, just like I mean, I suppose here it can be a for loop because we're just inputting 100 numbers, and like every number is going to be valid. I mean, it's not like we need to check like if the number can only be positive, for example. Yeah, so here we can just have a simple for loop, right? We don't need anything like a repeat until or while. Right, I mean, yeah, maybe step 2. I mean, could that be the loop? Yeah, I think so. Right, then we're going to say, well, let's say input. Then maybe let's have the if statement, right? Check if it's between 30 and 70. Let's say what if, and also increment, right? So increment the count, right, if it is within this range. And then I guess step 5, well, this can just be output. Yeah, so let's try and just explain those, right? And hopefully that's correct. Right, let's say, yeah, declare, right, and initialize. Okay, right, initialize. Let's say a count variable. And I suppose, I mean, well, here we can just say 1, right? Because if we want to go like 1 to 100. Yeah, let's say with the value 1. Right, and yeah, and a total. Yeah, let's say a yeah, okay, all right, total with the yeah, with the value 0. Now I've just realised, okay, so this one is total, not a count. So rather than doing an increment, or what we're just going to add to the total, yeah, we're just going to sum them. Right, okay, then I guess loop, we could say, well, let's say, yeah, do steps 3 and 4 like 100 times. I suppose, well, let's say repeat. Yeah, let's say repeat steps 3 and 4. Well, let's say, right, 100 times. I suppose, yeah, you could say, what, create a loop to repeat steps 3 and 4 100 times. Let's just say that, right, create a loop. Yeah, to repeat steps 3 and 4 100 times. Right, I mean, step 3, we can say, what, like, I don't know, maybe ask the user to input a number. Okay, yeah, let's say, right, ask user to input number. And let's say, well, and store this in temporary variable. So yeah, I suppose, I mean, this temporary variable, like maybe we could have said, yeah, we could also declare that as well. Right, then step 4, so what, I guess check. Yeah, check if input number is within the range 30 to 70 inclusive. Right, is in range. Right, let's say, yeah, 30 to 70 inclusive. Right, we say, well, if it is, then add this number to the total. Yeah, if it is, right, then add this number. Yeah, okay, right, add this number to the total. Right, and then I guess for 5, yeah, just output the total. Yeah, so I think that's all we need to do. Right, it says sequences one programming construct, identify 2 other programming constructs that will be required when the algorithm is converted into pseudocode. So when it says programming constructs, I mean, that means, well, let's say, you know, loops, if statements, case statements. I mean, yeah, probably they would consider, you know, functions, procedures. But let's say here then, well, we're going to need a loop. and in particular we've said a for loop. Okay, so a count controlled loop. So let's just say I don't know. Well, yeah, let's say loop, and in brackets let's say count controlled. I mean, you could also say something like iteration, or iteration statement. Right, let's say count controlled loop, or let's say count controlled slash for loop. Right, then construct 2. Well, I mean, let's say what selection, and then in brackets we can just say if statement. Three says the diagram represents an abstract data type, or ADT. The operation of the stack may be summarized as follows. Right, the top of stack pointer points to the last item added to the stack, and the bottom of stack pointer points to the first item on the stack. Okay, the stack is implemented using 2 variables and a 1D array of 8 elements as shown. The variables are used to reference individual elements in the array, right, in such a way that the array is filled from the lowest index elements towards the highest. So of course, well, this just means we're putting things on the stack kind of from top to bottom. Right, then all the elements of the array are available for the stack. Right, complete the diagram to represent the state of the stack as shown above. So honestly, to me this question is so confusing, because I mean, honestly, I don't know, well, to me it just seems too obvious. They literally just want us to copy this down again. So I mean, let's just do that. Right, that's going to be what, D2, right, and then D5, D4, right, D3 and D1. Then it just wants us to get these values here, which I mean again they tell us already. So bottom of stack, well, we can see that's going to be 1, and what top of stack, that's going to be 5. I mean, so honestly, for 3 marks, I mean, that just seems crazy, considering they basically give us the answer already. Right, the next one, a function push will add a value onto the stack by manipulating the array and variables in part A. Before adding a value onto a stack, the algorithm will check if that space is available. If the value is added to the stack, the function will return true, otherwise it will return false. Right, the algorithm is expressed in 5 steps and complete the steps. Right, so if something, then return false. So I guess what you say, what if the stack is full? Also you can say, what if the top of stack pointer equals 8? So I mean, I don't know, let's just say stack is full. Right, otherwise, well, something top of stack. So if you think, well, let's say we've got 5 elements as we saw, right, well, of course, and this is the top of stack pointer. Of course, well, then what we want to do, we want to increment the top of stack pointer right now to point to 6. So let's say increment. Right, use top of stack as a something to the array. So I mean, what we can say index, we can say pointer. I think I'm just going to say index. Right, set the element at this, position index. I mean, let's say index again. Right, to the something being added. So I guess what this is, what the value. I mean, all right, well, let's say value, right, since that's what they say here. Right, and then well, just return true. And I mean, obviously, well, hopefully people can actually code this as well. I think generally they don't actually ask you to code it for AS. I think maybe I've never seen that actually. Although, if you can code it, I mean, that also, of course, helps with your understanding. Right, the next one, a global array is declared in pseudocode as follows. Data, array 1 to 150 of string. Right, function toomany takes 2 parameters, a string, which is the search string, and an integer, which is the maximum value. And it's going to count the number of strings in the array that exactly match the search string. Right, it's going to return true if the count is greater than the maximum value, otherwise it will return false. Right, and then we just want to write pseudocode for this. So again, of course, if you go to the exam questions, right, you can find this starter code. Let's just click on opening code editor. Right, so then here, of course, we've got an array, right, pre-populated with data. Now, I mean, this one, I guess, so, I mean, let's say we could just use a for loop, but for some reason they don't really like us using return inside a for loop. I'm not really sure why that is. And they also don't, well, I mean, okay, right, let's say usually they don't want us looping over the whole, let's say the whole array, unless we have to. For example, if we want to calculate the average, right, then of course we have to loop over the whole array. Like, because, I don't know, well, let's say we just want to find GUI, and our maximum limit is 2. Well, of course, here we see, right, GUI, right, then obviously another GUI, right, another GUI here. So actually at this point, if we have a maximum of 2, then of course, well, as soon as we get to this third GUI, of course, well, we can just, stop, right, we can return. So yeah, I mean, let's just try and write that then. So let's go function, this is going to be too many. And yeah, let me just zoom in as well. And hang on, I did actually copy the, okay, yeah, I did copy the instructions. Right, so it's going to take 2 parameters. One is going to be the search string. So let's just say search. Right, okay, that's going to be a string. And then, yeah, the next one in integer, let's just say max. And it's going to return, all right, true or false, so that's going to be boolean. And yeah, let's make sure this is returns, all right, not return. Right, let's just go end function, and what we can do, well, let's declare some variables. Now, the first one could just be an index, because if we're looping, right, we're going to need an index. Let's also say what the current count, or well, yeah, I think we can just say count. Yeah, so like, is that enough? Yeah, I think, right, maybe that's going to be enough. So let's just say the index then, well, that's going to start at 1, right, starting from the first element in the array. The count, of course, well, let's initialize that to 0. And what we can say, well, let's have a while loop. Yeah, we could also have a repeat until, that would also be fine. So right, let's think about our conditions. Well, one, we want to say the index should be less than or equal to what the length of, well, I suppose, yeah, less than or equal to 150, since they tell us that. Right, so yeah, index, right, less than or equal to 150. Yeah, okay. Right, and then let's go and. Then what, so the count should be, what, less than the max. Okay, I know, so I think, yeah, less than or equal to. Because it's only going to return true if it's too many. So right, let's go count. Right, I'm going to move the mouse. Right, yeah, less than or equal to max. Right, let's go do, and we'll go end while. Now, what we want to do in here then, I mean, like, maybe I'll just increment the index, right, just so I don't forget. Right, what we want to say that if the current value, so let's do that, and that's going to be, is it data? Right, so if the data at index is equal to the search string, well, then we just want to increment, yeah, we just want to increment the count. Alright, and then, yeah, I think that should be all we need to do, I mean, well, inside the while loop anyway. And then let's say here what we can check is we can say, well, if the count is greater than, yeah, greater than the maximum value. Right, well, then what we want to do is just, well, return true. And of course, yeah, else we can just go return false. Hang on, yeah, not end function, alright, end if. Yeah, I mean, hopefully I've not made any mistakes, so let's just test that. And I mean, well, let's do what we said, right, we're going to go output, and let's go too many. And yeah, I think, well, let's try GUI like we said. Should that be, yeah, okay, all capitalized. And let's say what too many can be, well, let's just say 2. And what I'm going to do, like, okay, just for the testing, let's just go output index. Yeah, just to actually see, kind of where it stops. Okay, so yeah, here it's getting to 7 and stopping, which I guess, I mean, yeah, probably that's going to be, yeah, that's going to be here, I think. And then, I mean, look, so what is there? There's about, yeah, 7 or, yeah, okay, 6 of those. So let's say if we say 6, well, 6 should actually return false because obviously, well, we say it has to be more than the maximum. And yeah, that's false. And of course, we're in the exam, right? You wouldn't have this output index. Yeah, that's just for testing. Okay, and then right, there's a part B. So the global array is changed to a 2D array organized as 150 rows by 2 columns. It's declared in pseudocode as follows. So again, yeah, well, as we can see, right, 150 rows, 2 columns. The algorithm for function part A is changed. strings will only be counted if both of the following conditions are true. Right, one, the current row is an even number, and the search string exactly matches the value in either column. Okay, right, so write pseudocode to check these conditions. Right, assume that the row index is contained in variable row and the search string in variable search. Okay, so yeah, let's just do this then. Yeah, okay. Let's just say for me, right, I'm just going to use index, although of course, yeah, in the exam, or yeah, maybe let's just change it, right? Let's just change that to row. And I think also this search, yeah, let's also change that to a capital letter. So what we want to say then, and hang on, yeah, let me just copy this because I do actually have some, example code. Right, so there's too many, then 2D array. Right, let's go open here. Right, okay, so I think, well, rather than going data row, of course, well, we want to check both, right? We want to check either column 1 or column 2. So to do that, let's go data, right, data, well, row, and then, well, column 1 equals search. Right, or we can have, well, yeah, let's also have an or. And then I'm just going to copy this. And yeah, here we can just say 2. Right, but then we also want, we want to make sure that we want to make sure that what is an even row. So in order to make sure it's an even row, well, let's just go row. Right, then hang on, let me just move that across. Right, so to check something is even, well, we can just use mod. So let's go mod 2 and check that's equal to 0. Because of course, well, let's say 2 mod 2 is going to be 0, 4 mod 2 is going to be 0, right, etc. Whereas if we say, 1, 3, 5, 7, right, if we do those mod 2, so the odd numbers, of course, that's going to be 1. So, basically then we want what, we say, well, it has to be an even number, right, then and then, yeah, either, let's say column 1 has to match, right, or, yeah, column 2 has to match the search string. So, yeah, I think that should work, and then let's just see what they wanted. Yeah, so, when it says write pseudocode to check these conditions, I think, well, really all they want then is just this if statement. Now, let's just look at testing this then. So here we're saying, well, we're searching for GUI and we want to find, well, 2 or more. And if we just do Control F, well, let's search for GUI. And if you notice here, I've kind of aligned this where, so yeah, row 1 is 5, right, so it's odd. Yeah, row 2 is 6, even, so we can easily check. So here, well, 58, right, we have a GUI on an even line, or yeah, let's say even index. Right, then we have 103, so of course that's odd. Then yeah, 110, so again, that's going to be an even index. So what we can say then is, well, yeah, let's say if we try 2, well, this should say false. Yeah, because we saw, well, 2 are even. But if of course we go to 1, well, now it means, yeah, 2 is greater than 1, so it should say true. Yeah, okay, so this seems to be working. Right, then if we go to 5, an algorithm is designed to find the smallest numeric value from an input sequence and count how many numeric values have been input. An example of an input sequence is, well, as follows. Right, numeric input values are all integers and non-numeric input is ignored except for the string end, which is used to terminate the sequence. Right, the algorithm is expressed in pseudocode as shown. Right, so declare our next input, which is a string, right, min, count, num, right, they're all integers. Then we assign 999 to min, right, 0 to count. And, well, we repeat all of this. Right, so we input, well, next input, then we check if it's a number. And yeah, this is num, this is a built-in function. And what it's going to do, it's going to take in a string and then just return, well, either if it's true, let's say it's true if it's an integer or a real. Of course, yeah, if it's not a valid, numeric string, right, then it's going to return false. So, for example, right, let's say we have the string like 1, 2, 3. Well, of course, 1, 2, 3 is not. Obviously, if we go right is num, right, 1, 2, 3, that's going to return true. Right, then what we do, so if it is true, we do string to num next input, so convert it to an integer, right, assign it to num. Right, if num is greater than min, yeah, then we do min. I guess we want to assign num to min, right, end if. Yeah, this seems wrong here. Right, and then we check, so what count, and then what count, yeah, I mean, this also seems a bit wrong. So, I mean, well, this one is for concatenation, right? So, you know, joining, well, I mean, yeah, let's say joining two strings. Yeah, okay, and then, well, obviously, yeah, end if. Right, then we do all of this until our next input, and I think, yeah, this one should probably be equals end. Right, then the minimum value is, right, it's going to output the min, yeah, and the count was count, so I think that one seems okay. Right, the pseudocode contains 3 errors due to incorrect use of operators. Identify each error and state the correction required. Yeah, okay, so I think here then we've actually seen these 3 already. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, let's write the whole thing. So let's go if num. Yeah, let's say what, greater than min. Yeah, then. And let's just say, right, what should be, yeah, should be less than. And let's put it in brackets, right, less than. Yeah, I mean, okay, let's say less than min. Right, in order to set the new, well, I guess, well, yeah, let's say in order to set the number as being the current minimum or the new minimum. Right, in order to, yeah, let's say assign. Right, num, yeah, to min. Yeah, I think that should be okay. Right, the next one, I suppose, well, here then. So let's go, what, count. And let's just, yeah, I don't know how to draw this. Yeah, I mean, something like that. And here, yeah, let's see what should use plus. Right, yeah, since concatenation is for strings. Yeah, let's say for strings. Right, while plus is addition. Yeah, okay, right then, I guess the last one, so here then, well, of course, yeah, we're just doing equal, well, because, I mean, this one's obviously assignment, but we want to check for equality. Yeah, so the equality operator. Yeah, let's get the capitalization correct. Right, let's say, yeah, this is an assignment. But I guess, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could say that obviously, what, until is going to expect some logical statement here. So we can just say, yeah, I don't know, like, maybe let's say that. Right, yeah, but, okay, let's say we need a logical statement, yeah, in the, well, I guess after until. Let's say, or, okay, all right, let's say an expression. Yeah, I suppose, well, I mean, really we don't have to write all this, we just want to say the fix. But I'm just going to write it anyway. Right, but we need an expression that evaluates to true. Well, yeah, okay. Hang on, right, that evaluates. Yeah, and, well, let's just say that that's going to be what, next input. And then we'll just go equals end. Yeah, okay. Right, the operator errors are corrected and the algorithm is tested as follows, right, using this input. Right, it's going to say the minimum value is 3 and the count was 6. So if we see that, I mean, right, how many numbers you have? 1, 2, right, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, that seems correct. Likewise, the minimum, that also seems correct. Right, the algorithm is tested with a different test data sequence. The sequence contains a mix of integer and non-numeric values. Right, it is terminated correctly, but the algorithm produces unexpected results. Right, explain the problem with the algorithm. Okay, so let's look here then. Yeah, what could be a problem? So yeah, I mean, well, first then they assign, right, 999 to min. Now, generally, this is not a good example. Well, yeah, this is not a good idea because, well, let's say you have numbers like, I don't know, maybe 1,000, yeah, 1,001, you know, of course, etc. Well, all of these numbers are bigger than this minimum. So what it's going to say is it's going to say that, you know, 999 was the minimum, but in reality, like 999 was never actually input right in the sequence, because of course, you know, when we have this condition, and obviously, yeah, remember now it should be this way. So it's going to say, well, yeah, is the current number less than the minimum? So of course we would check, well, is 1,000 right less than 999? And of course, right, that's always going to be false, right? Therefore, this assignment here is never actually going to happen. Yeah, if we never have a number that's, you know, smaller than 999. Yeah, I think, I mean, well, if you just kind of read through this, you know, actually all of this is correct. So I think, yeah, this is therefore going to be our error. So, I mean, well, we can just say that. Yeah, I mean, like, well, let's think how to say it. I mean, I think, well, probably, well, we want to talk about this line, and I guess probably also talk about this, yeah, this if statement. Right, so let's say, yes, since let's say min, right, is assigned 999, right, assigned the value 999. Right, yeah, well, let's say, right, then, yeah, then if all the inputs, yeah, if all the, well, maybe numbers input, right, are greater than 999, then we can say what, then the, let's say the if statement or the condition, yeah, let's say, right, if statement condition, right, the if statement condition, well, that's going to be num, yeah, what num is less than min, right, let's say will always be false. Yeah, hence, well, let's say, right, hence, no, none of the numbers input will be assigned, yeah, to the min. Right, okay, yeah, none of the input numbers, right, will be assigned, right, to the min variable. Right, then give a sequence of 4 test data values that could be input to demonstrate the problem. So I guess, well, just anything bigger than 999, right? So let's go 1,000, right? We'll say 1,001, yeah, 1,002, 1,003. And of course, yeah, just write that in the exam. Right, the pseudocode output command starts each output on a new line. A new procedure, myoutput, will take a string and a boolean parameter. Myoutput may be called repeatedly, and we'll use right, concatenation to build a string using a global variable myString up to a maximum length of 255 characters. Right, myString will be output in either of these two cases. The boolean parameter value is true. Right, yeah, or the resulting string after concatenation would be longer than 255 characters. Okay, then if myString is not output, the string is concatenated with myString. Alright, for example, the calls to myoutput given below would result in the output as shown. Yeah, I say, well, hello, false, obviously, yeah, etc. And that's going to say, well, hello, ginger cat, how are you? And we see that what it's going to start, it's going to start a new line. Or we say, okay, so, well, because there's this true, right, therefore it's going to output. And then, of course, well, because this one is true, right, therefore it's also going to output. So we say, well, the hello, ginger, and cat, they're all going to be concatenated. Yeah, onto this first line, and then of course, well, this thing, right, this is just going to be output, yeah, by itself on the second line. Right, then we say, well, my string is initialized to an empty string before my output is called for the first time, and no string passed to my output will be longer than 255 characters. Yeah, and we just want to write pseudocode for my output, right, and well, this is going to be 7 marks. So, I mean, well, of course, I mean, actually, I have done these questions before because, well, I've uploaded videos for these before. And to be honest, this was actually quite a tricky question, yeah, in my opinion. Yeah, so I think this one took me at least like 3 or 4 goes, you know, before I got it correct. So, well, let's see if I can do it again. Right, so, yeah, okay, wait, yeah, what is it called? Right, my output. So let's go procedure, right, that's going to be my output. Right, and then it says, well, it takes a boolean parameter and also, right, a string and boolean parameter. Okay, yeah, let me see, right, hello, false. So I think this one, let's call it maybe like new string. Right, that's going to be a string, and let's say, well, show or output. Right, and that can be boolean. Right, let's just go end procedure. And it said, I mean, okay, so of course this one you don't have to do, but if we just want to test it, so it says what, there's going to be a global string, global string variable, right, called my string, and it said that's going to be initialized to an empty string. Okay, so let's think then what the two conditions that it's going to be output is, well, if the boolean parameter is true. So let's try that. Well, if show equals true, yeah, right, then there's going to be an OR. And I think here, well, the resulting string after concatenation will be longer than 255 characters. So let's just go length, and that's going to be, well, my string, then right, and so concatenate with new string. So of course, well, this is going to be, let's say, the combined new string. Right, if this length is greater than 255, well, then what we want to do, we just want to output. And then, yeah, so I guess here, of course, well, we want to output my string concatenated with new string. And I mean, again, well, the reason for that is because if we look at this one, where we have cat and true, of course, well, that's taking the current my string, right, and then it's, concatenating with this sort of new string. Right, and then probably we also want to set my string back to an empty string. Yeah, just, for the next time. And then said, well, yeah, what do we do else? Right, if my string is not output, then the string is concatenated with my string. Okay, so I think here this is where we just kind of, concatenate and assign it, right, back to my string. Because, well, as we saw, first we have hello, right, then we have ginger. Of course, yeah, they get concatenated together. Right, so it's going to be, my string, right, and, or concatenate with new string. Yeah, no, I think that works, and don't know, I mean, let's see if I can copy these directly. I think I should be able to. And I suppose actually, I mean, since these are procedures, right, let's just add the call statement as well. Okay, yeah, so let's see if this works. And yeah, okay, this seems to be fine. Now, of course, you can also test this. Let's go rather than 255. I mean, let's just go, for example, 10. And now I think if we have, well, hello ginger, right, this is going to be bigger than 10. Yeah, therefore this should actually get output. So I think it should say, right, hello ginger, right, then it will say cat. Yeah, then it will say how are you, hopefully. Yeah, okay, right, so this seems to work. Right, then B, the design of the procedure given in part A is modified, and my string is changed from a global to a local variable declared in my output. When the modified procedure is converted into program code, it does not work as expected. Explain why it does not work as expected. So I suppose, well, the reason, of course, is that if we have a global variable, then if let's say, the previous time that we called this myoutput function, of course, yeah, the previous time, we could have concatenated something with my string. So effectively, well, my string wouldn't be empty. But if we're making it a local variable, well, then each time we call my output, of course, then, well, let's say this local variable, my string, is obviously just going to be initialized to, obviously just initialized to an empty string. So let's just try and say that. Yeah, okay, so let's say, right, if using a local variable, right, let's say what then each time we call the procedure, yeah, each time, all right, we call, let's say what, my output, right, each time we call my output, let's say, all right, yeah, let's say Alright, so the my string variable. I mean, what we can say, like, yeah, I don't know, maybe like declared and initialized to an empty string. Yeah, let's say, right, will be declared again. Right, okay, again, yeah, and initialized to an empty string. Yeah, and I mean, I think that should be fine. Like, of course, you could expand that. You could say, therefore, previous results, won't affect the next result effectively. Yeah, that's kind of what we're saying. Right, then 7, an algorithm is represented by a state transition diagram. The table shows the inputs, outputs, and states for the algorithm. Right, so, well, yeah, of course, this table. Right, complete the state transition diagram to represent the information given in the table. Right, so let's just zoom out then, because I think I can do it, just here on one page. Right, so first we're in S1, then we have so of course, well, the thing on the left is the input, right? The thing on the right is the output. Obviously, well, the left and right of this bar, right, this pipe. So we see, right, S1, then input of A1, output of X1, and next state, right, S2. So let's just write S2 here. Right, then I'm going to tick off when I've done it. Right, then S2, then we have an input of A3, and no output, and S1. So that's going to be, well, this A3, which we see here. Let me just erase that. I guess we can say, well, the first two, they're almost done for us already. Right, then we look at S2. So, right, we have an input of A2. Right, and, well, next state is going to be S5. So let's actually create this S5. Right, so we said what the input is going to be A2. Right, then the output is going to be X4. Let's tick off. Right then, so S5, and we see what next state S5, so this will just be a loop. Right, and then what's going to be the input? Right, so A1 and X1. So A1 input, right, then X1 as the output. Right, then we've got what S5 and to S2. So let's just sort of draw an arrow. And actually, on this one, I will also make sure to do an arrow here. Right, so then we have what A4 is the input and X2 is the output. That's going. That's going to S2. Right, then we have S5 and S3. All right, so S3. Well, let's make this. Right, and then what do we want? So we want A3 is going to be the input, and this one also has no output. Right, so this one from S1, and we're going to S3. Okay, so just going down like this. And again, let's also remember to draw the arrow. Right, so it's going to be what A9 and X9. So A9 input, X9 output, and then we've got what S3 to S4. Okay, so let's also create S4. And right again, let's also make sure to do the arrow. So what A9 and X9. And I think, I mean, for me, once I've drawn this, like, I would probably just have a quick recap, make sure I've done everything. Of course, make sure I've like drawn all of the arrows, etc. Make sure I've got sort of inputs and outputs for all of them. Then the last question says, a class of students are developing a program to send data between computers. Right, many computers are connected together to form a wired network, and serial ports are used to connect one computer to another. Each computer is assigned a unique 3-digit ID, also has 3 ports, each identified by an integer value, and is connected to between 1 and 3 other computers. Right, messages are sent between computers using as a string of characters organised into fields as shown. Right, so we've got STX, right then destination ID, source ID, data, and ETX. And right, STX is a single character marking the start of a message, right, ASCII value 2. Destination ID, 3 numeric characters that identify the destination computer. Right, source ID, same, right, 3 numeric characters, right, source computer. Right, data, a variable length string containing the data being sent, and minimum length is 1 character. So I guess can't be empty. Right then, ETX, a single character marking the end of the message, and that has an ASCII value of 3. Right, so for example, the following message contains the data "Hello Kevin," being sent from the computer 102 to computer 232. So I guess just the STX character, right? Then the destination, then the source ID, right? The message, then ETX. Right, each computer will run a copy of the same program. Each program will contain a global variable myID of type string that contains the unique ID of the computer in which the program is running. The program has defined the first 2 program modules as follows. Right, transmit takes 2 parameters. One is a string containing a message, and another an integer containing a port number. Then it will transmit the message using the given port. right, then send file, yeah, what we have to write. This will take three parameters: a string containing a text file name, a string containing a destination ID, and an integer containing a port number. Right, and then it's going to transmit the file one line at a time and transmit a final message with data. Yeah, so just what, 4 asterisks. Right, so we want to write pseudocode for module send file and assume module transmit has already been written and it's used to transmit the message. Right, value myID may be used as the source ID. Right, the file specified contains no blank lines, and the file specified does not contain, well, just I guess the kind of ending message. Alright, so I mean, since it says module, it doesn't tell us what is it a function, is it a procedure. But if we look here, it's okay, let's say it's not going to return anything, right? So of course that means it's going to be a procedure. And of course, again, I've just gone to the exam where I've got this starter code. So, and in fact, I also did copy the instructions. Right, so Hannah, I've just forgot. Was it called send file or send message? Okay, send file. Right, so this takes 3 parameters. The text file name. So let's go file name. Right, let's say maybe dest ID, right, destination ID. They're both going to be strings. And hang on, let me just move that across. Right, then the next one is going to be what, integer, let's say port number. Right, that's going to be integer. Okay, so let's think then, what local variables do we need? Well, if we're reading the file, line by line, we're going to need a line variable. Okay, that's going to be a string. Yeah, no, I think that's probably all we need. But I'm of course going to leave myself space just in case we need more. So what we want to do then, well, if we're reading a file, let's go open file, and that's going to be the file name. And let's see what this is going to be for read, the mode. Right, then if we're reading files, hopefully people know how to do this because it's quite common. Right, so while not end of file, then we say file name. Right, let's go do, and let's say end while. And then inside here, well, then we just want to use read file. This will take the file name as the first argument. Right, then line, so this is the variable that we're storing the current line we've read. Right, then what do we want to do? So we just want to transmit the file one line at a time. Yeah, I mean, like, we don't need any sort of validation. No, so I think we can just directly call transmit. Right, so transmit takes a message, right, then port. Okay, so what is the message? I think this is what we have to create. Okay, right, so this is then going to be the message we need. Right, so if we want to get this ASCII character 2, then what we can do, and I think what I might do, I might also just create a message variable. Although to be honest, you could just sort of directly do this inside here. Right, so what we probably want, is it going to be, CHR? Okay, so CHR takes a number, then converts it to an ASCII character. Now, of course, obviously, like, if you forget this, then just check the insert. Okay, the insert has all the functions examples, right, the return types, parameter types. So what we want to go to, right, then we want to concatenate it with the destination ID. So, and here then it says the destination ID is a string, so we don't have to use num to string to convert this. Right, then we want to go myID because we said myID was going to be the source number. Right, then it was going to be the message, so I guess the message is just going to be the line. Right, then we just want CHR3, so this ending character. Right, so let's say transmit, so we transmit the message, right, the second parameter is the port. So actually, that port, right, that's also just the parameter we've got here. Okay, so transmits one at a time, right, then transmit a final message with the data, right, so I guess this. So I guess I'm just going to copy this. And then what we can do is, rather than saying line, let's just go, 4 asterisks like that. And then if we just have close file, and that's going to be file name. Okay, so let's just call this. Right, so we'll go send file, and then here I've created this jokes.txt. Right, so let's just write that. Right then, the destination ID. I mean, the destination ID, I guess we can do anything. Let's go, I don't know, like 999. And then the port, I don't know, let's just say 20. Okay, and then, yeah, so we can see this seems to work. And you can, I mean, obviously here, like, because, well, character 2 and character 3, right, they're going to be non-printable ASCII characters. Alright. So, yeah, since they're non-printable, that's why it's just showing this question mark. Yeah, so I think this seems okay. Alright, and then, okay, alright, so I think here there's no more pseudocode, yeah, just explanations. Right, module send file is used to copy a file from one computer to another. A module within the program running on the destination computer will receive the data and write it to a new file. Right, explain why module send file transmits the message with data string, right, this, after the last line of the file. And I suppose what we can just say, well, so it knows that, you know, the, I guess, well, so it knows when to sort of terminate the connection. Yeah, you can say, well, it knows when the last message has been sent. Because otherwise, like, okay, you might think, well, obviously, yeah, just send the last message and then just don't send anything else. But the problem with that, well, let's say there's like a slow network. I mean, how long are you going to wait? Of course, like, if the network just completely breaks, right, then of course, well, you're just not going to receive the message, right, even if they're sending them. Whereas if you actually get like a confirmation message that, you know, obviously, well, hey, this is, yeah, this is the last message, then of course you can be much more confident that, yeah, hopefully you've sort of received all of the messages correctly. So yeah, let's try and say that. Let's, well, okay, or let's say to notify. Yeah, or let's say, yeah, to notify the receiver. Right, that all lines have been sent. Or yeah, I guess, right, let's say all lines. Right, all lines, yeah, in the file have been sent. Yeah, and we can say what, well, I mean, let's kind of say what I said. So otherwise the receiver wouldn't know, yeah, when they've sent the last line of the file. Yeah, I guess, right, well, let's see, right, otherwise receiver wouldn't know. Right, if, well, let's say sender had stopped sending. And well, let's give an example, right, e.g., right, they might, yeah, okay, let's say what they might not receive more lines, or yeah, more messages. But we can say what, but that could be because of network issues rather than, you know, the end of the file. Right, okay, yeah, let's, right, so might not, let's say receive, yeah, more messages, right, due to bad network. Or yeah, I guess, well, network issues. Yeah, let's say, well, rather than it being the end of the file. Yeah, let's say, right, rather than the sender, right, reaching the end of the file. Okay, right, one of the text files to be sent contains several blank lines. Yeah, lines that don't contain any text. Explain why this is a problem. Okay, right, so yeah, why is that going to be a problem? Like, other than the fact that it told us that, yeah, the lines don't contain. So hang on, yeah, let's just go up here again. I mean, of course, well, they say here what the data should be a minimum length of 1 character. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think why there's actually a problem with that. You know, well, of course, yeah. Other than this sort of reason that they've just said, but like, is there an actual technical reason? Because I mean, if you're thinking about, let's say, like sort of extracting parts of the string, well, here we think this destination ID, well, you can just extract from character 2. Then you want to extract 3 more characters. I guess what this source ID, this is going to be from character 5, and then again you also want to extract 3 more characters. And of course, you know, you can do this just using mid. Yeah, I mean, I suppose what you could say is that, like, what they would do for this data is, well, they would probably want to go mid, and what that would be, I guess what that would be at 8, yeah, 8, and then they would want to get all of the characters, kind of up until, well, the, yeah, well, okay, let's say like all of the remaining characters, right, except the last character. Whereas if the minimum length, whereas I guess like if you had, say, 0, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think this would still work, to be honest, right? Even if there was no data. Okay, so for this one, I did just check the mark scheme because, well, I wasn't really sure what they're expecting. And I think, yeah, I mean, so here, well, this is just their answer, because one of the requirements is that it should be at least one character. So, yeah, I think really, well, I mean, there's not really a technical reason. Or, yeah, there's not some issue of sort of like, extracting the characters from a string or anything. Yeah, it's just some, I don't know, I guess just some requirement that, yeah, I guess that they've added themselves. So, yeah, let's just say that what, like, right, according to the specification, yeah, or according to the, I don't know, program description or something. Let's say, yeah, program description. Right, let's say, yeah, all data or all message. Yeah, I think all data, right? That's what they called it. Let's say, yeah, all data fields, right, should have a length of at least 1. Yeah, okay, right, at least 1. Then let's say what a blank line has a length of 0. Right, then explain how the message format could be changed to allow a blank line to be sent. So I think, I mean, what we could say is that we can probably have some sort of special character, let's say, for example, the null character, and that could just represent a blank line. So, I mean, well, when I say the null character, I mean, that's basically just, all zeros, right, in binary. Yeah, that's sort of, well, character 0 on ASCII. So, yeah, let's say that maybe a, all right, well, let's say message data. Right, message data, let's say with a special, yeah, that is a single special character. Right, a single, let's say, right, non-printable. Because, yeah, obviously we are, well, we don't want something that's printable because, well, obviously if we have something like, I don't know, let's say like an exclamation mark means, there's no data. Well, like, I mean, maybe like that exclamation mark was actually like a legitimate message. Whereas, yeah, probably no one is going to be sending, some random non-printable ASCII character. Right, so let's say, well, message data, that is a single non-printable ASCII character. And yeah, let's say what, e.g. null character. And we'll say what could be used. Yeah, let's say, right, could be used to indicate. What indicate, yeah, an empty message. Or, yeah, I guess a blank message. And then, I mean, here, yeah, I mean, well, I think for me, I thought this was the end, and honestly, probably a lot of people would have missed this. Yeah, like randomly on the back, they actually have another one. Right, so a new module has been defined, get field. It's going to take 2 parameters, a string containing a message, and an integer containing a field number. If the field number is valid in the range 1 to 3 inclusive, it returns a string containing the required field, otherwise it returns an empty string. Right, as a reminder, a message is defined as follows. Okay, we saw. Right, field number, right, not applicable. So I guess, well, field number 1, destination ID, right, obviously 2, source ID, 3, data. Yeah, they're not going to give us an example. But of course, for example, if we say, well, get field, well, it's going to have the message, right, get field 2, right, then of course it's just going to return the source ID. So, I mean, actually, well, this is what I've already said, right, just extracting, yeah, that part of the message. Alright, so let's just try and write pseudocode for this then. Yeah, no, I don't know, maybe I can just copy some of those. Right, and I've also copied the instructions, so let me just paste that. Right, so this is going to return, so let's make it a function. And yeah, we'll say get field. And yeah, let me just move that across. Right, okay, so it's going to, well, let's just say message. Right, that's going to be a string. And then it's going to take what integer, which is field number. So let's say field num. And right, let's go returns. And this will be a string. Right, and then, yeah, so what do we want to do here? I'm trying to think if we need any local variables. Yeah, I think for this one, like probably not. So first then we want to check what if the field number is within the range 1 to 3, so just a range check. So what if it's greater than or equal to 1, yeah, and field num is less than or equal to 3. Well, I think that one, let's just ignore that for the moment. Let's do the else. And else, what we just want to return, yeah, return empty string, right, because that's going to be invalid. Here then, right, so if the field number is 1, yeah, or, I mean, I suppose actually this one we could just use a case statement, because otherwise we're going to need, you know, if field number equals 1, right, else, yeah, if field number equals 2. So let's just make this a case, right, so case of field num. And then of course we can just have otherwise, right, so let's go 1, and what do we want to do? We want to return, and we said, well, this will be mid, this will take the message, and we're going to start at character 2, then we're just going to get 3 characters. Likewise, the yeah, if we want the well, I guess 2 is going to be the source ID. So we said, well, that's going to be message. This should be 5, and again, this will be 3 characters. Right, this one's going to be harder. So yeah, let's go mid. I mean, I suppose yeah, we could kind of use right, so like a combination of right and then just left. But I think, well, let's do it all in mid, right, rather than using 2. So what do we want to do? We want to say, well, the first 7 characters are going to be, well, obviously the STX and then the what destination and source ID. So therefore, well, let's have message. Then we're going to start from character 8. Right, and well, I mean, let's just think of an example of a message. I guess, yeah, maybe this one. Right, then I'm just going to sort of shorten that. Maybe let's just say ABC. So let's think then, well, this is going to be character 8, right? The whole thing is going to have a length of, right, that's going to be what, 5? Right, hang on, sorry, yeah, 6, right, 10, right, 11. So what we want to get is, well, we just want to get 3 characters out of these 11. So if we think, well, this will be, yeah, let's say the length of the string, well, yeah, the length of message, right? Then if we go -8, yeah, I mean, like, will that just work? So let's say if we had like A, B, C, D, then in that case, what the length of the message, I mean, let's just count again, make sure I've not made a mistake, right? That's going to be 7. Then here, what that's going to be is, right, so that, I mean, that should be 13, I think. So if we do 13 -8, I mean, yeah, that should just be 5. All right, so I mean, I think, yeah, I think this should just work. Right, then finally, let's have otherwise, and we're just going to return what empty string. And then, I mean, yeah, I think maybe I won't be able to use this STX and ETX directly, although, yeah, we can try. Right, then, well, let's just try 1, and yeah, I think I'm actually going to try all of them. And alright, so yeah, let's also try 4, for example, and 4 should, of course, just be an empty string. And in fact, let me just cancel, or yeah, just comment out this call. Yeah, okay, so right here we get, well, this one is going to be the destination ID, which, yeah, we see these ones, right, of course, right, then the source ID, right, then this. Then, yeah, finally here we just get an empty string. I think here it's showing, yeah, okay, I mean, I think here it's showing a space because we're sort of going to a new line. But yeah, this is actually just an empty string here. Yeah, okay, alright, so guys, I mean, well, now that's the end of the paper. And hopefully this video is useful. Of course, as always, any questions, just ask in the comments. And yeah, hopefully see you again in the next video.